Empire. Welcome to Football Jones Podcast. I am Mike Jones. You can read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter at @ByMikeJones. Follow me on Instagram at @ByMikeJones. Thanks for coming back for another episode. We've got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about the debuts of some of these young quarterbacks who took over for their starters. Going to talk about where some of these teams are headed and which ones are trending downward. And we're going to hear from two of the biggest cornerstones of the Rams franchise about their gritty performance over the Cleveland Browns. Let's get going here. All right, man, week 3 of the NFL is almost in the books. Lots of action, lots of good, lots of bad. This league, I tell you, the game just never disappoints. And before we get to hearing from Andrew Whitworth and Aqib Talib from the Rams about their late night win over the Cleveland Browns, we're going to discuss how some of these young guys did as they took over at quarterback for their starters, because there were questions about some teams and the direction that their seasons would be taking, with guys like Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Sam Darnold no longer in the picture for right now. And I think for some of these teams, you've got reasons for optimism, and other teams, man, you just very, very unlucky, and you wonder if their teams will be able to recover from the starts that they're off to right now. First up, obviously, we have to talk about Daniel Jones, because he came in here, a lot of pressure on him when the team goes away from the face of the franchise. Even though I know a lot of people were calling for Eli Manning to lose his job and time for them to go to the rookie out of Duke, there still was a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones. But I think he was probably in one of the best situations to make his start, in that he was going against another team that's in the process of rebuilding in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Daniel Jones, I have to tell you, looked way better than I thought he would. I thought he was going to take his lumps, but the kid looked very good. He was going against a defensive coordinator in Todd Bowles, who always knows how to get to rookie quarterbacks and how to fluster them and how to really force them into mistakes. But that was not the case yesterday, as the New York Giants win over the hosting Buccaneers. Daniel Jones accounts for 4 touchdowns, completes 23 of 36 passes for 336 yards, and he accounted for the game winner. A lot of excitement in that Giants locker room as they get their first win of the season. And yes, this team, it was good for them to get this win right here. They still have a lot of problems. Now they have concerns because Saquon Barkley left the game and is on crutches right now. But the one thing that Daniel Jones gives them, we now see, is the improved mobility. There are times where this kid tucked the ball and ran. He's not afraid to use his legs to buy himself time or to pick up yards or touchdowns, as we saw twice. But Eli Manning, while maybe he has more knowledge and understanding, that extra factor that you need was not there. The extra factor of mobility when you're behind an offensive line that is not as good. It is just as poor as the Giants' offensive line. But Daniel Jones helped compensate for that. It's too bad he doesn't have more weapons to use, and you hope that Saquon Barkley can get back. But quite the impressive debut for Daniel Jones as they beat the Buccaneers. Another team with the backup playing, and you wondered how they would be able to kind of tread water without their starter, is Kyle Allen of the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton, with his foot injury, was not able to play, but Allen stepped right in there, led them to a 38-20 victory, completed 19 of 26 passes, 261 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And I tell you what, for a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience, he has a real confidence and a swagger to him. You could tell he was out there having fun. His teammates were feeding off of him. Now, I saw people start to question, do they have a controversy? Is the Cam era over? Stop it, okay? Yes, Kyle Allen looked good, but Cam Newton is their guy if he's healthy. It is obvious that this offense has the pieces to do a lot of good things, but Cam Newton, whether it's the foot, whether it's the shoulder, is not 100%. He is not himself. And so the good thing for the Panthers is they can take their time in bringing him back. Cam can take his time, get healthy, and then, yes, I know they were playing against a team that doesn't have any wins right now, but still, the efficiency and execution was there. So good job for the Panthers. Norv Turner getting Kyle Allen coached up and prepared to play at a high level, so they get the victory there, and we'll see how they continue to progress. Another backup quarterback in the spotlight, Teddy Bridgewater, and man, how great is it to play for Sean Payton, because he just puts you in position to succeed, does a great job of highlighting his players' strengths, masking their deficiencies, and that was Teddy Bridgewater yesterday. They went to a place where very difficult to play, and they get the win, beating the Seahawks 33-27. Bridgewater didn't have to do it all because there was a whole lot of Alvin Kamara. They put the ball in Michael Thomas's hands. Their defense played well. These Saints, I think, are going to be just fine while Breeze is healing. They were, like I said, it wasn't like they were playing some pushovers. That defense that they went over in Seattle, the noise that they had to deal with, that was a tough place, and they get the victory there. And so I believe that they are going to be able to remain around the top of that division, and then we'll see how things go when Drew Brees comes back. Now, for the bad, poor Mason Rudolph. He was excited to step in for Ben Roethlisberger, who's out for the season. And he got a lot of support from his defense. Minka Fitzpatrick made a great debut after being traded from the Dolphins to the Steelers, but the offense of the Steelers really struggled, as did Mason Rudolph. He threw for 2 touchdown passes, but he also had an interception and a fumble and lost the game for the Steelers, and he does not look like a guy that is the answer. Now, it's just his debut. He's going to take some time to learn the ropes of the NFL, so I'm not going to say he's a bust or anything like that, but this is going to be a long road for the Steelers. Rudolph is going to take his lumps. He looked like I thought Daniel Jones was going to look. So give credit to Pat Shurmur for the preparation he did with Daniel Jones. I'm not saying that Mason Rudolph wasn't prepared, but he's a young guy, and when he was drafted, he was viewed as a project guy, and now you see why. But we'll see how he goes, because Ben Roethlisberger is not coming back, and he's the guy that's got to keep things going there. But it's going to be an interesting journey for him. All right, that's our wrap up on the quarterbacks making their debuts. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the Rams win over the Cleveland Browns. I was up there in Cleveland, and that game was way closer than what a lot of people expected. But we're going to hear from Andrew Whitworth, one of the leaders of the offense, and Aqib Talib, one of the leaders of the defense, on what they took from that game, because there was a gritty performance that they pull out, came down to the last second with the interception for the Rams to seal the victory. And it was just interesting to kind of compare and contrast these two teams and hear what these guys had to say. We're going to get to all that when I come back. So yes, we come to this game, the Rams visiting the Browns, and when you look at all the talent on both of those rosters, you felt like, okay, this game has the potential for a lot of fireworks. It got a lot of offensive firepower. talented young quarterbacks, talented wide receivers, talented running backs. They should be able to put up some points, right? Well, that's not exactly what happened. If you had gone to bed and missed it, this game was a 6-3 score at halftime, and the Browns were up top. Both of these defenses came to play. They were just ferocious. The pass rushes really disorienting and hindering everything that these offenses wanted to do. And when you went in at halftime, after the Rams had a chance to march down and get a field goal before they head into the locker rooms, and the Browns forced a turnover, Myles Garrett, I felt like he had an opportunity to have a big game, and he did have a strip sack and forced a fumble recovery, and it was the Browns who got up 6-3 heading into halftime. 6-3 is not at all the score that I was expecting. I thought that the Rams were going to come out and really be clicking. But again, you think about it, they were going against a really tough defense. They were on their second West Coast trip in 3 weeks. That takes a lot out of the body. You're sitting on a plane for 4 hours. This happened twice. They played in Carolina. They went home, and then they played at home for 1 week. Then they hit the road again. So that was a test for them. But as they continued throughout the game, they had some bursts, some spurts where they looked like the Rams, where the offense was clicking. But give credit to the Browns, because when they went into the red zone, most times they buckled down and forced them to have to settle for field goals, or at times they came up with a sack to take them out of field goal range. This was definitely a game that these defenses were not going to be showed up. And it was impressive to see how the Rams defense, we know Aaron Donald's a beast, but their secondary was on point. OBJ, Jarvis Landry, neither one of them had a touchdown catch. They did a great job in that secondary. And it was almost like this game that we saw as the Rams pulled it out 20-13. And again, Baker Mayfield throws the interception with 33 seconds left. It was like the defense was kind of the big brother for the offense of the Rams yesterday. When I talked to one of the guys in the locker room, that's kind of how they felt like, hey, okay, we know that you guys aren't having your best game. You don't have your stuff, but it's okay. We got your back. They put their arms around their offensive teammates. They went out there and they took care of business for them and get the win. And the difference between these two teams is you saw there was no panic on the part of the Rams. They didn't look like they were getting frustrated. Even though things weren't going right, they remained persistent because they know that, okay, adversity strikes, you have to continue to do your job. And that's one thing when they came away from last year losing in the Super Bowl, Sean McVay talked to his guys about the importance of being able to continue to execute and continue to find a way to win, remain resilient. And just, you got to find a way to make one more play than the other team. And that's what they did. Again, digging in, forcing the takeaway at the end of the game, forcing the Browns off the field at key points, not letting Baker Mayfield get comfortable. And that's what a team that has been there before looked like. Again, they didn't have their stuff, but they had enough. And sometimes in the NFL, these games are going to be ugly. They don't give you style points for these wins, but it's a win. The Browns came away from it encouraged. They felt like, okay, we didn't have our best stuff, but we really were fighting with everything we had. We were going up against a team that was in the Super Bowl last year. As OBJ said, look, I remember last year they were hanging 40 points on everybody. And so for us to lose within a touchdown, it shows that we are headed in the right direction. We just got to figure out how to score in the red zone. But now let's hear from Andrew Whitworth and Aqib Talib about how they felt about their performances of their teammates and how this game defines where they are and what it'll do for them heading forward. First, let's talk to Whitworth, who was right in front of his locker and gave good insight into their mindset. Even though the offense, which is what they're known for, wasn't on point, they still came away from this with a lot of positives. So what do you think? Obviously, you guys are happy you come out with the win here, but it was a struggle. So what do you take from this game? How do you look at it?
I mean, I think every game throughout the season, really, you want to be finding a way to get better at some things, and I think we did that on both sides of the ball and special teams. And there's some things that we messed up, and we come back and the table and find ways to be better at them. But the way I look at it is we've made 2 East Coast trips in the first 2 weeks of the season, and found ways to win on the road against good football teams, and especially this team. I mean, they were a shoe-in for the Super Bowl 3 weeks ago. So, you know what? They got a ton of talent, and they're going to be really good. And you know what? Come here and win second East Coast trip in 3 weeks. I think we feel good about that.
You guys really go by a routine. How difficult is that for your routine when you are flying across the country and having to do that?
Well, I mean, there's just physical effects too. I mean, anytime you're on the plane 4 hours, back and forth twice in 2 weeks, really. I mean, it's a lot, and typically West Coast teams, it's always been an effect. Throughout this. Great. Appreciate it. It's typically always been something that affects teams in the West Coast, but we've just seemed to handle it well. And I think our staff, our training staff, medical staff, has a great plan in place every week when we do it. And we've, really since Sean's been here, we've been a tremendous road football team.
Well, what are some of the tricks for that, you think?
I think just making sure everything we do has a reason and a why, and just making sure we're putting guys in position to win. And throughout the week, whether it's knowing when to rest, when not to, how to travel and win, and all those things that are best for your body. I think it's always finding a way to kind of find that niche that can help us perform better.
Gotcha. You had a couple times where you guys could have driven down and kind of slammed the door, couldn't quite do it. How much do you take that as it's frustrating, but also then it's a good defense as well? Where do you balance that?
I think it's both, but you know what? We expect to win against anybody. We expect to do our jobs against anyone. We played last year, went to the Super Bowl, so you've played the best of the best to get there, and we expect every week when we face a team to go out and execute, and that wasn't our standard today. We could have finished that game and put it out of reach. But you know what? Got to feel good about our defense that can sit there on the 5-yard line and do something like that against a special offensive group.
Gotcha. Did this do something for you guys, dealing with adversity, building on things like that?
I think there's no question. We look throughout the season, really, any team that's winning, losing, really, when you see these kind of games where they just find that gritty, tough way to just make the right moves and make the right decisions and the right plays and find a way to win and not really put themselves in position to lose. I think it's one of those things where you build character from that and trust. And I think it's trust and belief and really, people call it momentum, but I think it's more of a trust and a belief in hey, we trust the defense trusts us, we trust the special teams, they trust us. And the more times you get to show each other that, the more you have an opportunity to go win together because you hit on the field and there's no doubt in your mind about how the defense is going to play or the special teams. You're just going to go out and do your job, and I think it just creates a standard and really an expectation throughout the team of winning.
Really, you understand the mindset of this team, and just that, like I said, it's about getting a win. They'll obviously go back and they'll look at the tape and they'll figure out what they can do better. Sean McVay continues to say, I've got to be better. I didn't put us in the best situations. I've got to put us in the position to get into a better rhythm offensively. Jared Goff in the passing game could not, but Jared Goff never wilted. He kept on dealing. There were times when he probably was forcing balls because he was remaining aggressive, but they understood that, okay, we're okay. There's no reason for us to wilt and crumble here. Let's keep on dealing. And they knew they had the backing of their defense. So now let's hear from Aqib Talib, who had a little bit of trash talk as he was walking off the field, pointing to the fact that they only had 175 passing yards from a hotshot quarterback at Baker Mayfield and very talented wide receivers in Beckham and Landry. And he was feeling great. So I grabbed him to the side for a little while and talked to him about his assessment of the game. So here is Aqib Talib. Well, obviously you guys, really held them down on their offensive production. What was the key for you guys?
That game plan, man. Coach Wade had us with an excellent game plan, and we just executed, tackled well, and got the job done.
Do you take it as a challenge when you have, everybody talks about their offensive power. They've got, obviously talented wide receivers, but, and a hot shot quarterback, but to shut them down like that, what does that do for you guys?
Man, it's what our plan is going into the week, man. You know what I'm saying? If something different happening, then we'd be disappointed. So we happy with the results, man. We executed our game plan. That's a super explosive offense, man. You hold them guys to 160 or whatever they had. That's an amazing job.
Everybody looks at you guys because of you guys' offense, because Sean puts up a lot of points. But does the defense get slept on?
I don't think so. I think we get pretty good credit from when we deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't begging for no brownie points or nothing like that.
Right.
When we play good, I think we get credit.
What does it feel like when you guys, the game's on the line, they're driving, you guys have the opportunity to slam the door? What was that like for you guys?
It was dope, man. It was like a 2-minute drill set in practice or something. And then they need to touchdown to win, and we need to stop the win. So it was dope.
How happy were you for John for the play?
Oh, super happy, man. That's John, my dog. They said that's my dog, man. Seal that thing up, get your second pick of the year. I just want to see what his bag gonna look like when he get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to see what it's gonna look like when he get it, because it's on the way for him.
Right.
It's definitely on the way for him. He playing a hell of a football, and I love playing with that boy. He's super smart, super athletic. He reminded me a lot of myself when I was young.
Oh, really?
I ain't gonna lie. I tell him that all the time.
Right. How so?
The athleticism and the brain.
Yeah.
So we put them together.
What does a win like this do for you guys?
Oh man, it's enjoy it tonight, enjoy it tomorrow. We on to the Bucks. We don't do that much. It's just the third win.
All right, and there you have it. That's the Rams. This is definitely a team that a lot of people in that locker room feel like this team is better than last year's. We have not seen the huge offensive explosion right now, but I think teams are bringing their best effort, and they're coming at them, and they're showing that they can respond even though they're being attacked by really good defensive efforts. You see the potential there with their offense. Nobody's worried about their offense not putting up those points. They understand that, look, when you have success, everybody's going to be coming at you, and the road's going to be harder, and you just got to keep on digging, keep on fighting, and that's what they're doing right here. Now they are 3-0, and we're going to see where they go, because I feel like I had thought that the Seahawks were going to be their toughest competition in their division. The Seahawks aren't quite right. They're just a little off. But look over at San Francisco. They are 3-0. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams look when they face off, because a great performance by the 49ers. They are a team that their defense made plays for them, bailed out offensive struggles, negated, mistakes, turnovers. Jimmy Garoppolo is on his way. He's not quite there yet, but had some great passes, had some unfortunate passes, tip ball for an interception. Their offense had 2 fumbles in the red zone. Defense got the ball back for them. So if you're the 49ers, you got to be happy, and you're looking up at Big Brother, the Rams over there in the division, and you're coming for them. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But that's all we have for this week. Thanks so much for listening. I will be back talking to you Thursday with picks and predictions for week 4 of the regular season and what we can expect as the NFL rolls on. The first quarter of the season is almost in the books, and it's always about 4 games is what it takes for teams to really kind of define themselves. And so you see teams like the 49ers, like the Packers, who are 3-0, and they're starting to get things figured out. You see teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who are the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Baltimore Ravens, who started out 2-0. They got their lesson, showing that, okay, we're not quite there yet, as they lost to the Chiefs, but they're headed in the right direction and still atop of their division. But it's going to be interesting. The first quarter of the season is what a lot of coaches say is where you define yourself. And so we've got one more week for that quarter to be over, and then we'll see where all the pieces are falling into place. But thanks again. Read me, like I said, on usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter at @ByMikeJones, and email me if you have any questions or observations at mjones@usatoday.com. I'll talk to you guys later this week.